few minutes to do that. Make sure that everybody's able to get in and add or ask whatever they have.
Yeah, so at the end of your part, you guys get pretty good. Yeah.
And there's
You're more welcome to stay all night long.
Does anybody need me to leave the QR code up? Alright, I'll go to this slide, and it shows up top that we've got 22 participants that have already either logged in or gone on to the QR code. They've shared 5 thoughts. They've started the rating process. You can either share your thoughts, and once you've shared a thought or 2 or 3, then it'll ask you, are you ready to start rating? And the rating part is where you get to share, or you get to rate other people's thoughts. And it lets us select, all right, what are some questions that people have, what are some thoughts, as well as what's the order of importance that people put on those thoughts or their questions that they had as well. So we've got 24 participants, 7 thoughts, 14 ratings so far, and then it kind of lists them as it's going as, all right, this one is a 3.9, and right behind it, this one's a 3.8, and so forth. You can see real time people adding and then what we will do is tonight after tonight's meeting, or tomorrow after tonight's meeting, then we'll share this out online and folks can do the same thing and be able to log in or join and add, even if they weren't able to participate or be here live tonight, then they can share their thoughts even if they couldn't make it tonight. All right, I'm going to go 2 more minutes on that. 2 more minutes, and then we will get moving. All right, 1 more minute. And again, we'll share this out. It'll still be open. If you're just really bored and can't sleep tonight, you can keep rating people's thoughts tonight as well. All night long.
Dr. Musick, just
Yes.
to clarify, like I got out of the when I did the QR code, so I had to go back in on my internet and use that little code up there. Just if anybody's having some issues like I was having.
Just still log in.
Yes. Okay. So if we do share it out, I guess we'll share out that.
Share both things. We'll share the QR code as well as the TE join and the 9-digit code.
Okay, sounds good.
And there's a link where we can just copy the link and anybody can click on the link and get it.
Okay. I just want to be sure that everybody understood that.
Yes, ma'am. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get rolling on my part so that you can hear all the stuff that we want to hear and talk about. There's a part of our mission statement in Navasota ISD that I have loved from the day that I first interviewed, even before that, when I was applying for this position. with stability from the past and a vision for the future. That could not sum up any better the reason that we're here tonight. Stability from the past. We have a whole lot of traditions and things that we're founded on here at Navasota ISD, the city of Navasota, Grimes County, surrounding areas, but there are a whole lot of things that are on the horizon as well. And so meshing and building those two things, or bringing those two things together, is where we find ourselves, okay? And so you're going to see this a whole lot more, I believe, because I don't think there's a better thing that would sum up our purpose and what our call is moving forward. Stability from the past and a vision for the future and what lies ahead. If you were able to watch a video that I shared out maybe a week and a half or so ago, a couple of these slides are from that video and a little bit of rehash, but it's good information. As well as, if somebody didn't see that, I want to make sure that they see all of the information and know all the information. This right here, I'll try to get out of people's way. This right here is Grimes County. So this part down here, as well as this light green area, that is all Grimes County. With a picture overlaid on top of Grimes County and Brazos County, inside of this purple line, in this really fancy shape, that's Navasota ISD. Well, here's the Grimes County line as it follows the river. This is the Grimes County line to the east, and then this portion right here that is still Navasota ISD, that is Brazos County. That's the southern portion of Brazos County. A lot of folks don't realize or know Navasota ISD reaches up and captures the bottom portion of southern Brazos County. And so if you kind of look at this shape geographically, about a third of Navasota ISD, about a fourth or so of Navasota ISD is in Brazos County. Right here's Milliken, here's City of Navasota, Plantersville, Todd Mission, so forth. So a good portion of our school district is Brazos County, with the other 2/3 or 3/4 in Grimes County. Navasota ISD currently, as of today, has 3,083 students enrolled, grades pre-K through 12. I did the video 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, and that number was 3,046. So in 2 weeks, we've had 37 students that have enrolled. Had to find out exactly where they came from and went to in the last week and a half to know which campus and campuses have been affected to that extent. But our number as of today was 3,083, and that's pre-K all the way through 12th grade at all of our campuses. Like I said, southern portions of Grimes and Brazos County and Grimes County includes the city of Navasota, along with Pine Brook, Plantersville, and Todd Mission, in the rural communities of Courtney, Whitehall, and Stoneham as well. And then in Brazos County, it includes Milliken. Geographically, Navasota ISD encompasses 362 square miles. Out of the 1,200 school districts in the state of Texas, that puts us at about the 181st largest land print of a school district in the state of Texas, or it puts us in the top 15%. Geographically, as far as the footprint of square mileage of Navasota ISD, we're in the top 15% of largest school districts, geographically, not enrollment, but geographically in the state of Texas. A lot of space, a lot of room to grow. Been working with our financial advisor. Mr. Dawson is here. You'll hear from him later. Mr. Dawson works with Live Oak Public Finance along with Christian Merritt. They're our financial advisors. They've been working for the past several months, 3-4 months, of taking a look at our current position. But this conversation started with the recent legislation that passed that is compressing the tax rate on the maintenance and operations side of school district budgets, as well as the increased homestead exemption that has come to the taxpayers. 2 years ago, it went from $25,000 to $40,000, and as you know, it's going from $40,000 to $100,000 for the homestead exemption. Property relief, property tax relief to the taxpayers. That's good news. Good news. But it changes the way that school districts are funded. because school districts are funded off of two things: property values, property taxes, and enrollment. Okay? Property taxes go up, or property values, I should say. Property values go up, it changes your formula. If property values go up, but your enrollment goes down, you actually receive less money from the state because they say you're getting more money from property values, so they send us less money because of our enrollment going down. However, a good scenario to be in is if property values go up and student enrollment both go up. Then that formula from the state, you receive additional funding. The more your enrollment goes up, the more monies you get from the state. So we asked them to take a look at our current position because of the recent legislation changes, and it significantly changes the formula and the state funding. Navasota ISD is in a positive position currently for several reasons. One, because we have had a long-term plan and been fiscally responsible, and our financial advisors have done a great job of guiding us through that to be fiscally responsible in planning for the future and putting ourselves in a good position. We talked about the maintenance and operations side. That's just our daily operations and the monies that we get from the state for our budget. The other side of a school district budget is the interest and sinking side, or the INS side. That's debt. If you go out for a bond, you pass a bond, which 90-something% of all schools in the state of Texas were built because their community went out for a bond to either build a new high school or build a new elementary school or even build the stadium or whatever that was. Most school facilities were built along the way because their community passed a bond, and that's how you get the funding in order to build a new school or renovate, remodel an existing campus and so forth. That's what we did with our 2017 bond, renovations, remodels. But that's the INS, or the debt management side, and taking an approach of long-term planning and looking ahead. Navasota ISD is also in a positive position, and the timing is good because there are current INS debts that are falling off, that are ending, and there's also the ability to finance some current INS, refinance some current INS debt that would put us in a positive position as well. Refinancing the existing maintenance tax note, right now there's a maintenance tax note, about $500,000, about $500,000 per year for the next 9 years to pay that off. It could be refinanced over the INS side as well, and that frees up about $500,000 for the next 9 years on the maintenance and operations side of the budget. We've been working with a demographic study, and over the past couple of years, that demographic study was completed this past year, and it talks about the future growth that's coming in different areas and preparing of what that might look like at a build out for Navasota ISD, but knowing that some of those numbers could be 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, until it happens and until it gets closer. Some of those questions you can't answer until it is there and until it is about to happen. Meeting with city and county officials and staying on top of the folks that are coming in and the things that are happening, and actually meeting with developers is the best tool of all, because when a developer comes to you and says, this is what we're planning on doing, this is the number of homes that we're going to build, it's in your school district, and we're going to start next year or in 5 years or whatever. That's the best thing that can happen. We know where it is, how many rooftops they're talking about. You can estimate the number of students and residents that comes along with rooftops, as well as knowing what types of homes. And knowing the best part of that is knowing when it's going to happen. That's the biggest component that a school district wants to know or needs to know. And as you know, opening of State Highway 249, the Aggie corridor, has opened up a ton of possibilities for folks coming into Grimes County, and that entire corridor comes straight up through Navasota ISD, connects to 105, and goes up 6 towards College Station. So it's not a matter of if it's going to happen. The question remaining is when it's going to happen, because we know and feel pretty positive about the things that are going to happen, but is it going to happen in the next 2 to 5 years, or 5 to 10 years, or 10 to 15 years? That's the biggest question and the biggest component. Until the developer or other things fall into place that you know exactly when that timeline begins? That's the question to set. The $1 million question, I guess, or multi-million-dollar question. This area right here is what we're going to spend some time talking about tonight. Again, this is Navasota ISD, northwest corner of Navasota ISD, Brazos County. There's a sliver of this property that is on the other side of the Peach Creek line, and anything to the north of the Peach Creek line is College Station ISD, but the majority of this property is below the Peach Creek line. And so everything below Peach Creek is Navasota ISD. And you'll hear more about that property here in just a little bit. But that is Navasota ISD. And so when students move into, or families move into anywhere in Navasota ISD, our job is to educate them. Open our doors, we love on them, we welcome them with open arms, and we got a job to do. To prepare, to educate them, and when they get here, to educate them and prepare them to be successful in whatever they're going to be after they leave us when they graduate and walk across the stadium. But one thing I wanted to point out is currently, Navasota ISD has 6 campuses, 5 traditional campuses, and then an alternative campus. 5 of them are located inside the city limits of Navasota, the city of Navasota. We have 2 elementary schools, John C. Webb Elementary and Bruley Elementary, Navasota Junior High, and Navasota High School. 4 traditional campuses, 2 elementaries, junior high, high school, all sit inside the city limits. The other one is our alternative campus. It's a academic alternative campus as well as the disciplinary alternative campus that we all know and love as Old Webb, our NELP campus, okay? All 5 of those campuses inside city limits. Out here is High Point Elementary, our 3rd elementary that sits out right off of 105 towards Stoneham. That is where High Point Elementary is located. But if you take a look from this point down to existing campuses, it's a pretty good little drive. If anyone has ever driven from north of Milliken down to Todd Mission, where it hits the county line, that's about a 45-minute drive.
Oh, yeah.
Like we said, geographically, Navasota ISD is huge. So our buses drive a lot of miles every single day. The red dots are dots that we know of developers are either on their way or talking to us about and in the works. This is what we're going to talk about tonight. This is already in the works. That's Pecan Lakes, the number of rooftops that are going out there on the west side of Navasota ISD, out at Pecan Lakes, and a couple of others, Pecan Grove, and a third one, Pecan something. I don't want to say it wrong. Hills? Okay. You guys have seen, if you've been by there, you've seen the number of rooftops that are growing and the land that the next phases are coming as well. This is in between us and Anderson going out 90, right to the right as you head out. That is sitting inside of Navasota ISD. There are 2 developers that are in the works there with adjoining pieces of property. One of them is a smaller development, about 400 homes. The other one is a larger development, potentially about 3,000 homes. Okay? Don't know timelines on those, but I know that they are in the works and have been in the works talking with the city for a while now. These 2 developments, there's one in between Plantersville and Todd Mission that has, they came and visited with us and talked with us. They would like to know about the possibility of a school out there. They're talking about 4,000 rooftops. This development along the corridor of 249 is another developer that came and approached us a couple years ago, and they wanted to know about the possibility of a neighborhood school. Neighborhood school helps them sell homes. Neighborhood school that builds homes also helps the school district. If they sell homes, you get more students, more residents, and so forth. Those are good things, but they are talking about potential of 3,000 rooftops in that area as well. So those are ones that we know of. We know there's more, but we don't know where they are, if they purchased land, not purchased land, and so forth. So until we know they're there and until we know they've already started, we can just try to prepare and stay as informed as we can. Because of our positive financial position and work with our financial advisors, there is a position and a potential to propose a bond election in May of 2024. Because of our position in our long-term planning, we are also in a position to do that without raising taxes. All right, that is a goal of ours. A goal of our board is to continue to decrease taxes to our taxpayers and be fiscally responsible, which we should, okay? Until we have to, until there's a position where you have to because of if 4,000 rooftops happen or something like that, and that's another discussion. But when we can, and we can do that without raising taxes, that's a good position for the district to be in. It would also allow us a 2 to 3 year process. You don't just build a school overnight, and if the rooftops happen quickly, then it's a process. One, you got to go out for a bond to pass the bond, and two, if or when the bond passes, then it's at least 1.5 to 2 years of building a school before you open the doors of that school. And so, brings me to a point. I wanted to introduce two more folks. Jennifer Sitton and Mr. Billy Ballo are both here. If you've been to any of our meetings from the past, you would recognize friendly faces. They are our engineers and architects with Goodwin, Lassiter & Strong. GLS was our architect firm from previous construction and bonds that from our 2017 bond. And so we have reached back out to them, and they are excited about the possibility of moving forward with us, and will be at our bond committee meetings and be at our meetings in January and February to help us navigate, okay, if you're going to do this, this is what that means, and this is what it would cost you to build an elementary school. This is what it would cost you to build this wing or to do all those things. That's a process to go through. And then, if these kinds of things happen, we're also looking ahead and being prepared and trying to be proactive of, all right, that's our next step. And when that developer approaches us and says, we start next year, that's our next step to begin that process of what could be elementary school number 5, potentially, as well as there could be discussions of junior high number 2 or junior high number 3. And if you kind of take a look at the map, it's kind of a line of getting ready for growth this way, and thinking of that line could be the thought process of where Navasota ISD focuses and the growth comes in a central kind of location. But again, this point to this point, this point to this point, those are long drives. And thinking about how you make that happen. I love the one high school model. Our board currently loves the one high school model. Why? Because we're all rattlers. And we all prepare and go through school from kindergarten all the way up to become a rattler. And it doesn't divide the community on a Friday night or a Tuesday night basketball game or whatever, because half the community is rooting for the Rattlers and half the community is rooting for the Kangaroos or whatever they are. I don't know. And so the one high school model I am a big fan of. Will there be a day that we have to talk about too? Maybe so. Hopefully that's long down the road, and either the Lord or the board has gotten rid of me by that point. But for transparency and openness, because I've had people come up to me and say, oh, it looks like you guys are going to have to build another high school. I'm like, no, I hope not. You know, unless it's moving into the new high school or something like that. But also, there's plans for the existing facilities and how to prepare for that growth as well. So, in the interest of all fairness, I want you to know your superintendent loves the one high school model, where everybody's a rattler. What can we do now? Provide input, stay informed, ask questions, share with others, and help to answer questions, or if you can't answer them, point them our way and invite them to the next meeting with you as well. I'm going to share these dates later on. I'll bring that back up at the end of tonight, so you don't have to worry about getting it right now. But we've got 2 in January, 2 in February as far as bond committee meetings that we want to start that process, and we hope it begins with y'all. Anyone and everyone are invited to attend those and encouraged to be a part of that. Okay? We're not going to pick a bond committee and only the people we ask are going to be, we open up our doors. And anybody that wants to come, anybody that's willing to commit to 4 meetings in that process are welcome to attend and provide input, bring information, ask questions, and be a part of that process as well. So I'll bring those back up again a little bit later on. All right, I'm going to turn it over to our folks from the Milliken Reserve Development and let them share. That's forward, that's backward. All right. And this is Mr. Murphy, and I will let him share. And I told them that we would let them field questions at the end of their presentation. So if they want to stay for the financial advisor presentation, they're more than welcome to. Or if they want to call it a night, they're more than welcome to do that too. So.
With 2 active kids, I will probably call it a night. That's okay with you guys. But yeah, thank you. My name is Chet Murphy. I'm one of the developers from Milliken Reserve. This is Caitlin Abney. She's one of our developers and head of finance for us. Jack McFarland normally would be here. He's also one of the developers, but unfortunately had a death in his family, so I'm here. So Dr. Musick, thank you.
Thank you.
Board, thank you for letting us come present. Our project is large, and we've had some great meetings over the last few months, actually years, quite frankly, but more recently, now that we're in a position to really get a lot of lots to market. And we're big, we're far away, but my mom's a Rattler. I have so many cousins that are Rattlers. Love Navasota ISD, so wanted to come here and present. So, but I'll keep it quick, and I will say too, I have a cough, but I'm not contagious, guys. It's from a few weeks ago, so if I put a cough drop in my mouth, I apologize. High level, it's, you want me over here? Probably easier. So high level, we're 2,600 acres roughly. For those that may be familiar with Milliken Reserve already, we brought some large acreage tracts to market. We're a conservation-oriented project. Our goal throughout the project would to be dedicate roughly 1,000 acres to open space. So conservation, education, the arts are big pillars of ours. We've connected with the community. The challenge of a piece of property this large, it takes a ton of time to bring it to market. We also didn't have the infrastructure to support it. So without boring you with the details, we've created municipal utility district overlays. We've gone through that whole development agreement process with the city of College Station, and we're now ready to go. I'll keep going. Yeah, I don't need to think, I need to orient you guys too much more. We're in the actual ETJ of College Station, but the school district boundary does cut through Peach Creek, so the majority of our property is in Navasota ISD. We stretch from Highway 6 to 2154, so we have about a mile of frontage on Highway 6 and a mile of frontage on 2154. Again, I indicated that the 3 villages were already there. I do think that's important, and the big reason we're here now today is we had our wastewater permit received, and we're actually currently under construction. Why that matters, previously we could only do large acreage. Now we can do higher density projects, we can build schools, we can build out commercial, and that wasn't available to us. So we've been working for roughly probably 10 years on this, but now we're really ready to go and bring rooftops to market. Kind of covered all of that. I don't know if you guys really care about the providers, but I can get into that later.
If you don't mind, go back one, because I think there are 2 folks, our architects, that would be interested in making sure they know those details, and we can get that later too.
Yeah, and I'm happy to share any and all of this as we go forward. But yeah, it's BTU. Welborn Water has the CCN. We did extend a gas line, so we have that available. We built out a fiber network. I think a big thing that we have done is we do want to partner with like-minded groups. So we've partnered with the Mountain Biking Association, Texas A&M. They have all their canoeing and kayaking classes are actually held out on our 40-acre lake. So we really, truly want to engage the community and get activity and get people out there. Yeah, as I said, these were the villages that we've already brought to market. They're actually sold out. So this is about 42 lots. We have roughly 20 here and then 10. These are large acreage, 10+ acre lots. I should say most of our development, our next round, next phase will be in this area off of 2154. We are exploring some options to come off the Highway 6, but I think this is where you're going to see that. And a big thing is we have talked about schools, always thought about schools, so we have school designated spots already identified. And as we proceed and continue to talk, that can be refined, but it's always been part of our plan. I don't think you guys really care about this stuff, but safe to say we've done a lot of stuff. So we've built out a lot of infrastructure already. Again, all of our permitting, and that's really what takes so long. You're nodding your head, you understand. So this is a lot breakdown, and I always want to say this. There's not a single number on here that is correct, but it is our best estimate on what we think we're gonna have in terms of lot count. So we'll roughly have about 2,000 rooftops when it's all said and done. There are commercial components to the project as well, but you're gonna see a variety of unit types, bless you. We'll have larger acreage, we'll have some production build, we'll have tighter multifamily lots, and I think we'll have some acreage lots as we continue, but we're gonna move as the market tells us. Yeah, so this is the rough counts and estimates in Navasota ISD specific. So we do think over the next 10 years, we're gonna consistently bring 100 to 200 rooftops to market. And we're working with local builders and other groups to make that a reality. So again, I always want to caution when you do this. Like, please don't call me and say it was actually 84 lots that you guys got. I don't know. But we're building out the infrastructure and feel confident with these projections. This is our boathouse and our 40-acre lake out there. So
Go back one, and if you don't mind, go to the end of the 10-year build out and point out those numbers, the rooftop slots and the potential residents that you talked about.
Sure. So if you look at family unit counts, at the end in Navasota ISD, it's roughly 1,886, and we think there'll be 5,865 people living in the community.
And that's a 10-year prediction?
Roughly, yes. I mean, it's always in development. There's a tipping point in these big projects that I don't know if it's year 5 or 6, but I think we would be able to push a little harder on our development lot delivery, but we're pretty conservative group. So we're going to slowly and methodically build out as we go. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't want to bore you guys, but again, we presented to Dr. Musick and team. We would love to have a school site out there. We feel like a project this large, we're building a little town essentially, and that's a perfect fit within that footprint. So our target would be elementary, and if there needs to be expansion for middle school, we'd love to sit down and talk to the board and everybody about that and those opportunities as we move forward. Yes, sir.
You're dedicated to providing land out of your build-out space and give up rooftops?
That's currently, yes. We have a school site designated for that. Yeah, there's a lot to be discussed on how that actually looks and how that would be dedicated, but it's definitely on the table and we're discussing it now. Yes, sir.
This would be a mud district out there?
We've already created it, yes.
So it's already created?
Yep, and we're already in that bond process now. So we built out some large infrastructure. And our wastewater facility is currently under construction. So we'll be completed around March. So with the lift station force main that we have to build associated with that, probably operational in the summertime. Yes, sir.
As far as schools and districts, you're only looking at Navasota ISD, or are you also looking at College Station?
Well, a portion of the property is in College Station.
Well, I understand, but a facility.
Yes, sir, it'd only be Navasota. Yeah, it's limited lot, so I can go back real fast. So the Meadows is already built out, so there's no opportunity there, and the only remaining piece up here is on the College Station side. This is Beach Creek system, and really, there's not a school site that would be a good fit for that.
Just percentage of the property, how much is in Navasota ISD?
85%, roughly.
I was guessing 90, just
Yeah,
by kind
well,
of
and
ballparking, but yeah.
well,
that's-
roof count, it's probably 90.
Yeah.
Because some of the topography on the College Station side really isn't developable.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Someone might say, wherever get it wrong. Let's say that was the school, whatever the site was.
Actually, I got a better one.
You got a better one? Oh, there we go.
That's the
If
school.
that were the school, that's the one I was looking for.
Yeah.
All right, if that were the school and it's so close to the line, then how is that not building a school that would benefit College Station folks to come down and so forth? And my answer to that would be because it's in Navasota ISD. So because if there is a school there and it's in Navasota ISD, any student that goes there, even if it was College Station folks that came down, currently Navasota ISD accepts out-of-district transfers. They have to apply. But if we accepted their out-of-district transfer and allowed them to go to school there, then there are students. And we receive state funding based on our enrollment. So it's not, I don't want to speak, I'm not competing against College Station and so forth. But if they go to Navasota ISD school, Navasota ISD benefits from that. It would not be a benefit whatsoever to College Station ISD because that school is close to a boundary line. If they go to school there and it's our school, there are students and we get the state funding for that enrollment.
Talk a little bit about the zoning and how this is not going to be exclusive.
Sure. So somewhere down here is Milliken, and currently our Navasota ISD with 3 elementary schools, the attendance zone for John C. Webb Elementary goes up and then bends over to capture all of this area up towards Milliken and so forth. So as students arrive and as this development happens and other developments happen and so forth too, at some point there would have to be some boundary zone changes, and if or when we build a school out there too, then we would have to rezone portions of Navasota ISD. I think the only 2 that would be affected would be Brudley and Webb, and most likely more Webb than anybody else. I don't think High Point's going to be affected by that at this point. But at some point, if you open up a school, you have to rezone your current attendance zone boundaries for your elementary schools, because we'd be moving from 3 to 4. Good question.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Have there ever been talks of just changing the boundaries, like having a partnership agreement or something with College Station ISD and put the whole Milliken Reserve in one vs the other?
We haven't explored that yet. We're talking to you guys.
I mean, yeah, have it all in Navasota or have it all in College Station?
So I've done development for 20 plus years. I think that's one of the most challenging things. We don't see a need for that, but yeah, we'd rather just, it is what it is. And
Sure. I can't speak for another school district, but I can say if someone approached us and said, hey, we want you to give us this 2,600 acres that is currently in your school district. You can't convince me why I would want to do that. Because my job is to work for Navasota ISD and work for the community and to do what's best for our students, our staff, our community, now and in the future and so forth. And, you know, they could plop down a humongous sum of money and so forth, but that now and in the long run would not be a good decision or wise decision of why I would even want to entertain. Yeah, we'll give you or sell you 2,600 acres of Navasota ISD. I would not want to entertain that.
Okay.
I don't know that anybody else would too, but I can't speak for them. But
Okay.
even if it's 150 acres or something, because that's potential for them to utilize property value wise as well as enrollment wise.
On our eastern boundary against Montgomery, we run against the same thing. We have to
True.
run buses into Montgomery School District to go around to pick up kids that are in Navasota School District and come back around. It's just part of where the boundaries lie.
It's a great question. It's a great question because it's not the first time that's been approached, and usually the answer is going to be, no, we like our school district. We want to keep our school district.
Well, I will say this for full transparency. We have been contacted by private schools though. saying, hey, we are interested in your site and your location. As we shared, we didn't solicit that, we're not pushing for that, but we came to Dr. Musick first to say, hey, we feel like long-term this is a better fit. But what we do know is that we feel really strongly we need a school out there. So this is our step one, and depending on how it goes and if you guys are all excited about it, then we have a very clear step two. If not, I don't know. We'd have to really reevaluate and think, because we do feel like a school site needs to be here. Yes, sir.
How many acres are you actually committing to the school site?
To be determined as needed. I mean, the beauty of a footprint this large, we have the space, so acreage isn't the problem. Yes, sir.
You have total numbers of households and people in those households, 3.8 or something. So statistically, 2,000 houses, how many elementary school children is that out of that many homes?
Great question, because that was the first thing I did, was take out my calculator and start doing that. So depending upon the yield analysis that you use, and right now Navasota ISD's demographic study we just completed ranges anywhere from a 0.3 to a 0.76. So I just used the middle, say 0.5, because one, I think these homes are going to sell and sell quickly, and two, I think the types of homes that they're putting in there are going to yield students, potentially, over the long haul and over the build out. And so I said, all right, I think a good number to use would be the 0.5. And so if they're building 2,000 homes, I took out 200 because they talked about 180 to 200 being 55 plus homes in one area, one section. Probably not as many students coming from there. So I used 1,800 times my 0.5 student yield. That gives you 900 students, okay? But they're not all going to be elementary students. So I said, all right, students could be, and I just used kindergarten through 12th grade. So I took the 900 students, divided by 13 grade levels, and that gave us 69, 70 students per grade level. So 70 third graders, 70 sixth graders, and so forth, from kindergarten through 12th grade. And then I took our model of K through 5, that's 6 grade levels, times that 70, that's 420 students at an elementary school in a 10-year build out. So ballparkish, that would be a full elementary school at 10-year build out. But great question. Because that was the first thing I did.
Is there any projection on like square foot size and housing prices in the development?
It's going to vary, so depending on the product offering, but our goal would be all the way from production starter all the way up to large acreage, higher end homes. So again, we're trying to create a town, and within that town, you want all different types of products out there. So I don't know, I'm not trying to avoid your question, that's the goal, that's the hope. Yes, sir.
On your production models, are you modeling after any other subdivision in like the Houston, Waco areas or anything like that?
Not major
Or this
markets.
is just your guys and y'all brainstorming and y'all came? Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, yes, we've done
You
this.
got 20 years, I get that.
Yeah,
It's
so.
just, I just wondered if you used a model from somewhere else that we could see what exponentially they had ran into. I love the wastewater idea. This is really a selling point for me. But just curious if you had some other market you were tapping into.
I'm looking more at market share in general in Brazos, Grimes County, and what we think we can capture year over year.
Okay.
So we're in the 5 to 10% rate, and that'll increase as we go. So that's really what I'm looking at.
Any other questions for
Yes,
them?
Yes, since you're talking town so much, are you going to try and take the EDTJ away from College Station and make it your own town, like with your own mayor, city council, police force, and so forth? Since you're mentioning town so much?
No, it's from a planning perspective. This is what we're trying to create within the footprint, but no. This how the MUD agreements and development agreements work too. We will build out the community at completion. That's when we'd be eligible for annexation.
Okay.
That'd be tough between two townships as it is anyway.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. So like I
That'd
have
be a fight.
zero desire to do that. That is not even a discussion point, yes. Good question though.
Anything else?
No.
All right.
All right, great
Thanks
questions.
Thanks for the opportunity to be here tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very
Yes, sir.
much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you being here. I'll switch that over. Yeah, thank you. All right, let's switch over. And allow Mr. Dawson to come up and share. Forward, backward. Should be good to go. This is Mr. Dawson. He is a member of our financial advisor team that we've been working with. We've been with Live Oak now for 7 years and been with Live Oak since I came on board, soon after I came on board. And they worked with us through the 2017 bond and all of our debt management and all of our M&O side, INS side, and have been very, very helpful and have been here from the get-go, similar to our GLS team of being at the meetings, fielding questions, helping us making sure that we're navigating things and asking the right questions as well. So thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Musick. And of course, he said he didn't want to bore you because he knows he's got the finance guy right after. So we let that guy bore you with all the numbers. But you know, I appreciate you inviting us out, and you know, it's a pleasure being here. I actually live not far from here. I'm in Spring, Texas. So when I first met Dr. Musick and he said Navasota, I said I know exactly where it is, because as he talks about the 249, and he said, yep, I drive there, going to College Station for soccer tournaments, baseball, all these things. But want to kind of get started on this and some of the things Dr. Musick talked about what the district has been doing. I do want to talk about that just a little bit before I get into it, because we work with so many different districts, different types of districts, different things going on, different circumstances. And I will say, when he says a positive position, it is very positive. So I say kudos to the board and the leadership for what they've done over the years, because we try to get on what we tell districts that we're trying to work with now. Like, we like to be involved early, as early as possible. We like long-term, planning, not just call me 2 months before you're ready to do a bond and I'll come and work for you in 2 months and then I'll disappear. And what Navasota has done over the years has been, amazing as far as taking care of, like, being fiscally responsible and putting the district in the position that it's in right now. I can't go to, there are a lot of districts I go to and present, and it's not that positive. So kind of go through and look at some of the things. Looking at this, so this is the maintenance tax note from 2019, and this is what Dr. Musick was talking about with their right now being almost 500,000, so almost $500,000 that's being tied up. This maintenance tax note that's coming out of M&O, and M&O, as he said, that's operation that runs the school. So there are, if you ever go and look at the district's budget, there's a whole host of things that comes out of that one bucket. And right now, $500,000 of it for the next 9 or so years is based on, or not 9 years, but total, it's coming just from this tax note. So the idea here is, because of things that have the position they put themselves in on the INS side, there is an opportunity to now do what's called the refunding and actually kind of shift this over and let the INS side pay for it, so free up money on the M&O. This was, the tax rate there was the interest rate 1.893. It was low right now, and that's kind of the one downside, is it puts the interest rate higher, but it secures it. And you can see some of the things, and I won't read through all of them, but freeing up that money right now at the timing of that with the M&O compression. So again, the state tries to continue to take money away from school districts on the M&O side, but Also, homeowners have received a huge tax relief for the home with the increase in the homestead exemption, which don't have it on here, but just to know, also over 65, most of those should also see a decrease in their tax bill due to the changes in legislation. So it's very much similar to a refunding that was done a couple of years ago or a few years ago. The only thing is it would shift from M&O to INS. So like I said, down the good side is it's freeing up a lot of money for the district to do other things, all the special programming, all the funding, things like that. The only thing is it makes it just a little more costly because of the interest rates.
I was just going to jump in real quick. In 2017, there were two propositions. Proposition A was the $55 million bond. Proposition B was the $6.1 million portion of that. That was this same exact scenario. There were three pieces of notes. One was a SECO loan, one was our buses that we had purchased, and then there was an existing note from before that those three components, because of them being able to move over to the INS side, it freed up that money on the M&O side. So this scenario of this maintenance note is the same, basically the same exact thing that we did in 2017 with Proposition B that moved 6.1 million over and freed it up on the M&O side to do that.
Thank you, Dr. And the thing is, like I said, what's been done over the years, it's allowing this to happen without increasing the burden on the taxpayers. And that's the difference. With a lot of districts, they'll have a maintenance note, and in order to go through this process, they're not in the position to just do where they are. So then that would require a bond with an increased tax rate on one side. And here the district doesn't have to do that. So this is kind of just talking a little bit about the M&O INS, those two buckets. So basically this is just a visual of what's happening. It's moving this piece over to that side. So every time you pay taxes, you may only see one number coming from the district, but that number is comprised of two different parts, and it's two buckets. And like Dr. Musick said earlier, the INS, that's only for debt payments. That's the only thing you can use it for. This has a whole list. Just some important dates. If the board decides to move forward with the bond, if it's May of 24, the deadline to call that bond would be February 16th. And then it would be important, if they were to move forward, to make sure the community understands knows the other dates, and so we can get things going as far as registering, getting people registered to vote, and the early voting. November 24 is up there, but November of 24 is also a presidential election. So for most districts, I could probably hit this and they would want an X to show up and say that's not happening, but we didn't put that into the presentation. So those are the dates for May 4th or May 24th. So talking a little bit about legislation, there was about $18 billion in surplus that was allotted and for tax relief. And that tax relief was broken up into two components. About 12.6 billion of it, so from that surplus, was to reduce the M&O rate by 10.7 cents. So statewide, every school district, at least 10.7 cent reduction on the M&O side. There were also some other current and local guidelines looking at values, things of that nature, that caused M&O rates that was an additional compression, additional reduction on the M&O side. So we've seen districts this year that their M&O rate went down 18 cents, 23 cents, from 1 year to just in one year to the next. The other portion, the 5.3 billion, that was part, and the reason we talk about the 12.6, 5.3, so basically that surplus that's the state saying the district has a number to get to. Like Dr. Musick talked about the enrollment or the number of students. that determines the number that the district is entitled to have. And if these reduction causes the state to fall the district to fall a little bit short, the state increases their share. So it's a share program. State has a share, local has a share. Dr. New did a great job of talking about that earlier. This now just relates right back to it, so we're kind of going to it a little bit more. The 5.3 billion, that's saying, okay, the homestead exemption is going to now go from 40 to 100. He talked about the 15 to 25, 25 to 40. Every time I talk about that, I say back in those years, we said it was a jump from 15 to 25 and a jump from 25 to 40. Now we look back and say those were little steps. This is a big jump, 40 to 100,000. And in most cases, so it obviously depends on the value of the home, but in most cases, this increase in homestead exemption is the biggest portion of tax relief. Meaning you could drop a tax rate 20 cents, and in most cases, that's not going to be as much of a tax relief as taking $60,000 off the taxable value. Like we run the numbers on it, we look at it. There are some districts that lowered their tax rate to full compression plus the minimum required on INS. There's some that moved a little bit over to INS. Some kept their tax rate exactly the same, and homeowners received still their total tax bill is still $550, $560 less than it was the year before, and that's because of the weight that miscarries. So here are numbers, just visuals, looking at the history of the district, looking at the tax rates. As you can see, obviously M&O was held steady, no changes from the state there. State sets M&O, the board sets and the district sets the INS every year. You see jump here, but now the total tax rate has been working itself right back down. And throughout these years, as we talked about, those rates, it was very strategic with the rates and the increase in value and the excess funds, and using any excess funds to help offset things in certain ways. So paying off debt, so reducing the time, which also increases the interest savings. So it reduces the amount of interest being paid. So you think about just on your home mortgage, they talk about, if you can pay it off early. We all know if you can pay it off early, you save a lot on interest. And the district has been taking advantage of all of those opportunities to do that. And what that does is it makes all of the debt payments less costly, because think about when you get a mortgage on a house, you see that big number, it's ridiculous, the amount of interest, when you add the interest and the principal. And so you look at that as if you look at that as the total cost of your home, and then as you start to reduce the amount of interest paid, basically the total cost of your home goes down. Same with this. Just a quick look at the valuation. You can see the positive trend there. Definitely starting to see even more growth, starting to become exponential there toward the end. All the percentage growth there. So it's important there to know that all that growth that you see there, as we get to now some capacity numbers, looking at the potential of a bond, even though that looks very good and positive and it looks very promising, we're hearing from developers, we're still very conservative in the numbers. When we show capacity numbers, we're not assuming that this is going to continue. We're assuming this is going to stay right where it is and it's just going to be flat. So if there is any growth, that again gives the district options, but it also helps make sure we keep our promise to the district. If they say, hey, we need 20 million, and we say for this tax rate you can get 20 million, we don't want to push that to the edge to where now any little change we say, sorry, you can only get 18. But it's also to help the district keep its promise to the taxpayers. So if they said tax rates are gonna stay the same, or tax rates will not be increased. If we push that to the very limit and then all of a sudden one little change, never mind. Last month, we didn't think we were gonna do that. Now we're gonna increase it 5 cents. So very conservative in our numbers. You see that growth. That definitely looks like a very positive trend. We don't care unless the district tells us to, makes us assume that growth. So when Dr. Musick asked us to look at this, and look at, all right, what's the capacity without increasing taxes? Ran it a few days ago, or a while back, I think a few days ago, and kind of just continued to look at it, but ran it a few days. This is max capacity uniform, so this is uniforming, kind of keep the payments pretty level, or at least it gets to a certain point where you kind of keep them the same. No change to taxes, $45 million capacity on a 25-year bond. This shows the change from 2022 to 23, or 2022 tax year to 23, so this school year. And this shows you, so tax rate, exactly what we talked about. There was a reduction in the total tax rate. As you can see, M&O went from 85 cents to 66, almost 67 cents. So that piece alone, the INS actually decreased a little. So there's a reduction in the total tax bill because of the tax rate, but also this $200,000 home, or assessed value, they were paying taxes on 160. That same home is paying taxes on 100 the following year. So you can see there's the reduction that you would see in a tax bill from 2023 compared to 2022. So this was kind of uniform, and then typically when there's already an existing bond, kind of debt, we look uniform, we also can look RAP. Basically RAP, if you, anyone ever heard of Dave Ramsey, he talks about the debt snowball. Basically, once you pay off one, now you've got more money to pay to the other one. That's a RAP. We call that a RAP, as if, all right, once that debt's paid off, that extra, we're gonna now increase the capacity of following years. So typically you get more on the capacity side, but again, but that's a little more costly because as you push principal down on a bond, push principal down to the bottom, that's a lot of interest coming up. So this is a lot of numbers. This is for any math nerds, and if you don't like math, you probably want to put your head down and not look at all these numbers. But this is just basically kind of show the structure, local values. So I'll kind of highlight you. Local values staying the same, existing debt, tax rate staying the same, and there's a defeasance already planned for this year. That's, so again, the district taking an opportunity to pay off some of the existing debt. So that's what you see here, the defeasance. Refunding, this is taking care of that maintenance tax note. And this would be the new bond. Now, uniform, you can see, get to a certain point where these all start to just look very similar, same payments. And this is excess revenue even after a new bond. So moving on to the next one, when we wrapped it around, this time there wasn't that much of a change. So from 45 million to 46 million. Not that big of a change, and like I said, usually the wrap, depending on, in most cases, you see a bigger number, even though it's more costly. 46, so realize that these 2 years were really causing a big problem. So realize after looking, like I said, kind of going back and forth, looking at it over a few days and trying to figure out, all right, the district has done such a good job with, taking care of things. Now, what can we do to help maximize that? What can we do differently? And looking at it, we realize that it's these 2 years, but there's also this big defeasance that gonna happen in 2024, this school year. Just restructuring that defeasance to help out in those 2 years. Oh, this is the old one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Alright. Basically, just we were trying to look at our there's a lot of, it's set up, there's a lot of excess revenue there, so capacity, even though 45 is great for no tax increase, wanted to look at could we restructure things in a way where that would increase the capacity. All right, and I can flip through to jump to it.
I'll let you take it.
All right, so this was the uniform. I'll go back real quick. So this was the wrap, and you can see down here when you're wrapping, all of a sudden kind of increase the payments down at the very end. The problem is it just couldn't increase them enough because of these 2 years. So then we look at what if we structure the defeasance differently? So still go through the same thing that was going to happen. Take the excess money from 23, 24, use it to pay off debt. It's just you're picking and choosing how you want to structure that payoff. Now, for no tax increase, 71 million is the total. This is wrap. So then this is max capacity. This is obviously the most, this one's a little more costly. So you can see numbers get a little bigger at the bottom. All right. But again, that's $71 million with no tax increase. Whereas I talked to districts that they can raise their tax to the maximum level and they still can't get that much. So looking at this, that puts the district in a position to do a lot. If you look at this is another option. This is more uniform. Still 65 million. So plenty options there because of where the district is. And again, none of this assumes any growth. So all of those rooftops that were mentioned in the beginning and that were Milliken Reserve people discussed, none of that is taken into account. So this is just right now where the district stands. Any, obviously, growth, added value, then just puts the district in a position to where if something else needs to be done later, so again, looking at that long-term planning, Dr. Musick talked about the potential, and obviously we don't know anything, nothing happening yet, but that potential for maybe needing another elementary, maybe needing a junior high, then all of that, the district is kind of set up to make that happen. And this one you can see, now we're a little more uniform. These numbers aren't changing as much. Still having excess in some of the later years, even without assuming growth.
So running the numbers that they have currently, it's all run off of our current situation. So any increased property values, more homes coming and so forth, or increased enrollment, or both are beneficial and advantageous to the district. Basically, it's even better. So the numbers that they're running are off of current enrollment, current property values, and not trying to project or crystal ball any future growth.
So I open it up. Any questions? I mean, I forgot to mention it was open anytime. You can interrupt me anytime. But yes, sir.
This is all pretty much out of my wheelhouse, so it might seem a little ignorant. So you're saying you're not calculating an increased assessed value of any properties, you flatline it. So
Yes.
there's no increase in my property value, my property and appraisal, and if we're not changing tax rates, I should be paying the same next year that I did this year. And if you're doing 10-year projections, you're saying that I'm paying the same all 10 years. And then you're saying you're not gonna include any new increase in properties that are built into that, then where's this extra revenue come from?
So, no. What we're saying is this extra revenue, if you look at here, this is where we are now. So if your values have increased, so values have increased over the last several years.
Well, they have.
And that increase and the number of people, when you look at students increasing, development, all of that adds value. And that added value, the district has been able to reduce some of their other debt, the existing debt, and that created extra capacity because they saved money as they were doing. They were paying off some, and by paying off, they're saving interest. So all of that starts to create. So values have gone up. What we're saying is, from now, we're not going to assume, from a district's value standpoint, we're not going to assume they're growing anymore. So to kind of answer your question, the net available revenue for the district, that's only goes up if their existing debt service goes down. This is where we're saying we're not projecting anymore, because to calculate the district's revenue, it is obviously the tax rate times the district's value divided by 100. We're not changing this number, this local value. Whereas if we were to assume growth, we'd say, okay, this district is going to grow. Jump back here just to. We could look at this and say, wow, the district over the last several years have grown 5%, 8%, 6%, 6%, 14, 7%. So let's assume they're going to grow 5% the next year, 5% the next year, 5%. In doing that, that's one way to, if we were doing that, this number would go up every year. These will go up, and then at some point if we decide, all right, now level it off, then wherever that new high number is, it would stay down. That would then increase the net available. Then we could set up this new bond to where the payments continue to increase as values increase, and that's what we're not doing. We're not saying the only way you're going to be able to pay this bill is if your values increase. That's what I mean by not assuming. If we were to assume growth and say it's 5%, then that means if the district only grew 3%, how would they get the extra revenue to pay that bill? They'd have to raise taxes.
I don't like budgeting that way, and I don't like budgeting saying, hey, I'm going to budget and be aggressive or even assertive and say we're going to grow 5% enrollment over the next year. And so we budget with a very conservative number, and then any growth on that is just icing on the cake kind of deal. And this is the same approach that we've asked them to take is, hey, if property values didn't go up next year, or if our enrollment didn't continue to increase and go up, we think it's going to. I absolutely believe property values are going to keep going up. I think it'll slow back down, we all hope. But school district has nothing to do with property values. We don't set that. That's the appraisal district and the state and so forth. We have nothing to do with that. But we can say, all right, if it does go up, then again, that's just kind of an icing on the cake, but we don't want to project and hope it does, and if it doesn't, then we're not in as good a position as we were hoping for. So we're trying to do all of these runs from the most conservative standpoint of, if no growth, no property value increase, or no student enrollment goes up, then and it flatlined, that's the scenario that we've asked them to give us a run for.
We also asked to do it this way so that if all the school district needs is the revenue to pay the note back, and if the property values go up, then we can lower the tax rate because we just need that dollar amount, right? The amount that existing debt service, those plus the available debt service is the only dollar amount. So if the appraisal district raises your property value, then we'll automatically correspondingly lower the tax rate to make it even, because we only are concerned about the dollar amount. So we're not projecting that there's gonna be more homes or each existing home goes up in value so that we can come up with that dollar amount. That way, we can set our tax rate at 31.6 cents, and then by the time we're through, we're down to 17 cents. All right? That's with a flat line. If we get additional houses and additional taxpayers, that's gonna go down even more. But we're looking at the worst case scenario as far as what will impact the taxpayers. Because we're all taxpayers. We want to minimize the impact to us as well as to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, I guess, is the money's coming from the fact that you're paying things down faster and being able to use the money for other things, right?
That's
So
where,
when you say as available money, that's where it's coming from.
that's
Because
where,
it's not coming from increased assessed values, and it's not coming from increased taxes, and it's not coming from new loans. So it's basically coming from spending the money to pay down debts and then having that extra money from having the debt paid to be able to do what you do.
over the past years, it has come, increased values have been a part of it.
Yeah, but that's
But-
not part of your projections.
But not for anything pushed out past this year. We're not assuming any sort of increase there.
And then
And the district would have, that, as values do go up, even, we're not assuming they do. Now, so it's a different meaning of assumption, or his use of the word. We assume, like, just as humans, and our own taxpayers, and we're tax, yes, I assume values are gonna go up, but I'm not going to project that and put that into the equation to say that's gonna be a requirement for the district to be able to afford its payment. So, buying something and saying, I have to get a raise next year in order to be able to pay for next year. Like, no, here's where I am. If things stay the same, I want to still be able to make that payment. If I get a raise, now I have extra money to do something with. And that's where we are here. So the district, as values go up, district would then have options to lower tax rates, or say, okay, if we stay kind of where we are, maybe lower it a little bit. Now we've got excess money to maybe start to attack that debt, or depending on the situation, when you talk 2,000, 3,000, 500, 4,000 rooftops, or, so maybe it's just putting the position now, all of a sudden getting a lot of excess revenue that could be used to help with the long-term planning of the district, like whatever the next need will be. Yes?
Okay. How many enrolled students are there right now, and has there been a factor of the current debt right now, and how much, are each student debt, like whether they're like a kindergarten student at High Point or like a 12th grade student at Navasota High School, like what is the student's debt to ratio?
So,
Student debt to ratio.
3,083.
83, as of today.
I remember the number. I don't calculate debt to student ratio, so I can't answer it. I could divide.
Because that's a lot of money,
I can do the division, but.
And then you want to tackle on new debt with the bond.
Well, the debt, so the funds that the district gets per student, that's for the M&O side. So that's part of maintenance and operations.
That's the money that we get from the state based on our enrollment and based on their programs and services as well. But all of that is on the maintenance and operations side of what our state funding allotment is.
And something I haven't heard tonight is, what happens if we get a lot of school vouchers, like if that gets all approved, and a lot of people pull their kids out of Navasota ISD and go for school vouchers?
That's a completely different conversation. Because none of that affects the INS side.
Okay. Because there'll be no enrollment and no need for another school.
We are fortunate that those did not pass in the 4 special sessions and the regular session as well. And very happy that they did not.
And if vouchers pass, my kids aren't going anywhere from, they're staying in their public schools, so. I can't predict how that would, happen, but again, that has nothing to do with the INS other than number of students.
I know my kids are still breathing, so we don't have plenty of kids. You're lighting the situation.
5 or 6 years ago, we changed to live vote. Funny. And Christian Merritt came here and he ran our number. He worked his tail off, and he was super excited about it. He gave a presentation on how he could restructure some debt, pay off some things because of where the interest rates were at, and it was quite amazing what he put together. And I remember after that, and to see what he had presented there 6 years ago, he made the comment, we're setting up the future board to be in a really good shape here in years to come. I had no idea I was still going to be on the board. The people elect me, I don't know. But, so I'm here, and then here we are tonight. That's how we're able to do this, because of the work that we've done, restructuring that debt and being, fiscally responsible with our debt and handling it the way we have. It puts us in a position now that we can do this. It's remarkable to me that we can come up, be in a position where we need to build a school and have the ability to get this money without raising our taxes. We have a group with Milliken Reserve coming out, saying they want to participate with us, with land. So we're going to see what all that looks like. The opportunities right now are too good to not pursue this, to see where we're at on this thing. It's going to come to voting at the end of the day. But with what we have here and the position we're in, we've set ourselves up for this. We're in a good spot.
Can I ask the architects what 1,000 student elementary school gonna cost?
1,000 students?
Yeah.
Well, we're not looking at.
About 400.
Yeah, we're.
You could just given us 560 as a number, and that was without any other.
460.
460. But that's the Milliken itself. That's not anything else.
Correct. And anything on top of that would be additional discussion of, do they go to Webb Elementary or do they go to elementary school number 4?
That's also 10 years out.
I'm sorry?
That's 10 years out as well.
Correct, and that's a build out. Correct.
But
And
if you wait too long, it costs you more money, and you don't
sure.
have it. But so it's okay. So say it's a 450 student elementary school. What's that run?
I don't want to tip our hand to our architects, but I trust our architects 100%, or else they wouldn't be in the room with us again. We absolutely feel that, step one of that would be to, if we built a elementary school with a capacity of 400 or 450, but with the ability to add a wing, when and if needed along the way, that's a better approach than we go build a 800 or 1,000 students, and 10 years from now, we're still sitting at 400 students. And so if we build a school for 450 or so, and then have the ability to add more classroom space, but the cafeteria is ready for 800 to 900 students, or the gymnasium, gym space and PE space, those kinds of large common spaces are available to be for a 900 student capacity, but your classroom spaces and wings are ready for 400 as they open up. And then when and if needed, then you're able to go back and add 8 more classrooms or 12 more classrooms as you grow that as well. That's a similar model to what High Point has done.
And Bruley.
Correct. Bruley is currently sitting, there you are, 340 students, and that originally was built as a 5th and 6th grade campus, intermediate school, 4th and 5th grade campus, intermediate school. But then as their numbers have crept up as well, then we were able to add that 8 classroom wing on several years ago with that 2017 bond. High Point Elementary was originally built at about 400 capacity. Last Monday, not yesterday, a week ago, they cracked the 500 mark for the first time. So 2 weeks ago, they're at 502. I'm betting they're above that now. But we just added a 12 classroom wing out there 3 years ago too.
So I don't think you've quite answered his question.
Okay.
He was looking for an estimated cost.
Oh, yes, he was asking them that
An
question.
elementary school, would it be 30 million, would it be 40 million, would it be
We're
70?
talking about freeing up 65 million without a lot of aggravation to the taxpayers right now.
Right.
So the question is, between a new one that we know we're gonna need, and then the expansion of other spaces as these kids grow, before we build others, what kind of pot of money do we really need for 10 years down the road?
You bet.
So
For 10 years down the road, I can't give you that projection, but what I can tell you at the moment is that we're doing a new high school for 225 kids in Granger. And it's got a competition gym, it's got locker rooms, it's got a VOTEC building, nothing that you will need for your elementary campus. It's got 13 classrooms, it's got life skills, it's got administration, it's two-story. It's right now it's at sitting at $28 million. So it could come in at, if you're doing 200 students, 225 students, similar, an elementary school could come in because of inflation, prices going up on materials, it could come in around 30 million to 32 million for just the 225 students.
We were projecting somewhere in the ballpark of 30 to 35 million for elementary school number 4. Current numbers and costs and all those kinds of things, as well as being able to, at build out, it would be potentially 2 to 3 years from now, and knowing what that overrun might increase and go up like it has. So current projections of schools that have been built in the region, elementary schools have been ballparkish $30 to $40 million.
Thank you.
Yes, great question.
And I just want to circle back. Did I answer your question? Because I do have
Yeah, I think I get it.
Because I was going to go back to this. Did you see the
I
tax?
follow.
Okay, INS rate went down a little bit, little increments, but the value. This is where as that value increased, that generated excess money. And the district was able to do both. They continued to lower tax rate on both sides, and the state was controlling M&O. They were still dropping off the INS in small increments while this value was going up, still generating excess and paying off debt. So it was a combination of the increased value and paying off debt and generating savings and creating a capacity to set the district up to be in this position to where you throw out 30, you throw out 40, you throw out 50, 60, whatever the cost will be for potential school, if that's the direction, at least you would know that the district is sitting in a very good spot to honor their promise of doing that, taking on that project if needed, without increasing the burden to the taxpayers. Any other questions? I bored you enough.
Did great.
All
Any
right.
other questions for Mr. Dawson, or any other questions for me at this point that I can pass on to Mr. Dawson? Excellent questions, great discussion. Again, tonight's purpose was not to say, hey, we want to go out for a bond for this much, or even to say we want to go out for a bond. Our process of that would be to have bond committee meetings and invite come one, come all, and to be a part of that. And ultimately, the process of what we've done in the past and what I would recommend for, again, would be that bond committee walks through that process together, along with some direction from our architects and numbers, and knowing what numbers we have, what numbers we have to work with. Having options is always good. That's always a good thing. And so that's another reason why I appreciate you guys running several scenarios and saying, you could do this, but we went back to the drawing board and you could also do this or this. And so options are always good when you talk about something like this. But then that bond committee works through, and ultimately they bring a recommendation to the board, and then the board has to vote and decide whether or not to go out for bond and what bond to call. And the deadline for that, as Mr. Dawson shared, is Friday, February 16th. And so we put 4 bond committee meetings between now and then to try to work that process as best we can, and to walk through. And it's a completely different process than what we went through 7 years ago.
Would you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean,
I know that everybody knows what that was.
so if you weren't here for the 2017 bond, we weren't talking about new campuses. We were talking about roofs and HVAC systems and some additional classroom spaces or wings, a new science wing at high school or junior high, and the new CTE classroom spaces at the high school. But it was all renovation, all remodel, and it was all of our campuses being touched by that bond project. The $55 million part of Proposition A touched all of the campuses. Not a ton at Webb, because they were the one with the most recent construction that expanded them to their current capacity. But the Nelk campus, Old Webb, got a complete gut and renovation, floor to ceiling and plumbing and electrical and everything in between. Bruley Elementary, the new 8 or 9 classroom wing addition there. High Point Elementary, 12 new classrooms out there, but Bruley got a new roof. High school got a new roof. Junior high got a new roof. It was all renovation, remodel kinds of projects, and so it was us sitting down for 2 or 3 months and working through the bond committee process of, okay, if we can go out for 45 million or 55 million, and working with our architects saying, these are the things that need to be done. How much can we do for a $50 million bond or a $55 million bond? And if we can go out for 55 million, how are we going to split those among all those projects and all those needs that we have? That is a lot of different discussion and planning of, okay, 55 is our number. If 55 is our number, what's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, 4, and 5? Because there were 5 phases to that bond and that construction. Between Bruley Elementary, the Rock Gym, the Brozig Auditorium, complete overhauls there, new roofs, new HVAC systems, chillers, and so forth. So completely different CTE wing and building. Yeah. Right. Shoring up things, a lot of cameras and so forth, interior and exterior, that we were able to do with that. But it's a little bit different discussion of, do we need to go build another campus? And that's, you can say, all right, if we need another campus, how much does it cost? Boom. You have a ballpark number to play with, as opposed to, all right, how are we going to divvy up these portions of 5 different phases, and how much gets, which phase gets how much money of the pot too?
So how did or who did decided which projects made the list? How
The-
did that look?
The bond committee, working with our architects and working with our construction company, our project manager, coming down to how those all are divvied out between Bruley Elementary and what we need to do there, Webb Elementary, what needs to be done there, High Point Elementary, what needs to be done there, junior high, high school, Nelk campus, and the bond committee worked through that process to ultimately bring a recommendation to the board of what to go out for a bond or not, and how much of a bond to go out for. Yes, sir.
What happens if this bond fails? We use like COs to finance what you need, including the new elementary school?
Including a new elementary school, that's it?
Yes.
Like I said, probably 90+% of all campuses or schools in the state of Texas are built off of bonds. And so then it's back to the drawing board. Do we go out for the bond in November? Do we go out next May? If the houses are coming, it's our job to educate them and to be prepared for that as well.
Okay.
Good question.
Now, the other thing I had, just 'cause talking about the 2017 and, doing a lot of different projects all over the district, when you kind of look at the capacity, it's one of those you can think, okay, wherever that school falls, if that's the decision to go, let's say it is 40 million, that if there are still other needs throughout the district or things that have come up since the 2017, then you know that there's capacity there where there could be another 5, another 10 million, still no increased burden to the taxpayer to now not only build a new school, but maybe build a new school and maybe do a few more projects that maybe, like I said, did not make the list before. They weren't a priority, but maybe over the years, now they've become a bigger priority.
And Dr. Musick, is that some conversation those meetings would have what he's talking about?
Absolutely. Of, okay, what
Priorities.
what existing needs do we have and or still have, as well as what existing needs will we have in the future, and looking ahead down the road. You know, even just your daily operation. We have buses. Our bus fleet, a complete bus fleet, was purchased 2016. So, you know, adding a plan in there for replacing buses over a 5-year period, or as they age out, get mileage on them, being able to sell those, purchase a new bus, and so all of those conversations of what needs do we have right now. We absolutely have needs that we can add to the list, as well as looking ahead. All right, what needs might we have in the next 5 years that could be included in some of this? Good point. Any other questions? I have no idea what time. A little after 8, is that right?
Yes.
8:11.
8:11, so a little over an hour and a half, less than 2 hours. Great questions. Hopefully good information for you to take back and chew on. I told you I was going to share dates coming up. So we do have 4. I think I'm still showing. Let me eject his desk there.
Might have extended the screen to 2 screens.
I'm not smart enough to do that. If you cannot fix that quickly, I will give you the dates. There's 2 in January, 2 in February. I'm trying to, it's right there. And I got the USB connection going to there.
Let me know if you need some help.
That's easy.
I should have called the 18 first. My bad.
Hey, B team helped you today.
B team, nothing. 18.
The A team was not in the office, and the B team had to go help.
And we will obviously put this out every way we possibly can between now and then. But I did want to give you the information as best as we possibly could.
Go Ronnie, you
Put
still got
slideshow.
it.
It's January 11th.
You're in PowerPoint, so go to view.
Will it be in this room?
Pardon me?
Will it be in this room or somewhere else?
We have not determined that yet, whether it be here or like move them around. We hadn't said that.
Okay.
That is a great job by the
Post it
JV.
out on our
Best JV in the state right there. All right. So Thursday, January 11th, Thursday, January 18th, and then going to Thursday, February 1st, Monday, February the 5th, with the ultimate hope and plan that this meeting on Monday, February 5th is to finalize if and what recommendation the bond committee would be making to the board. The board meeting, current regularly scheduled board meeting for February, is that next week on the 12th. And so our plan would be to come up with a recommendation, present to the board at the February 12th board meeting, and if the board chooses to call and what bond to call, it would be done prior to the February 16th deadline as well. Good? And we will absolutely share the information out as well as share the upcoming dates and so forth, but hopefully you don't have to mess with that and worry about that over the Christmas holidays. Thank y'all for being here. If you did not sign, please do. Thank you for your time. If you have questions, please ask. Please ask and let us know how we can help. Thank you again.